because I was doing things all wrong, and I don't want that to happen to you.
Cortisol, stress, blah, blah, blah. No, you ate too much. Coach Greg, and in today's video, we're going to be going over Melissa Neill's transformation. She's in her 50s. She made a huge mistakes in her 40s. Things change, and she explains exactly the mistakes she's made, what she changed in order to dramatically change her physique. She's in amazing shape beyond the age of 50, and so let's see. Does she give good quality information, or is it spews for views? Well, stay tuned. We're going to find out shortly. And she's in her 50s, and she looks absolutely incredible. I mean, check out this girl's physique. She's posed in a bikini. She looks like she has the physique of a 25-year-old bikini competitor. And it took her 5 years, but in the first 2.5 years, she did everything wrong. And so let's learn from her mistakes. What did she do wrong? What did she do right? And so let's see what she says.
And she still carried a lot of body fat around my midsection, and that happens a lot over the age of 40.
And so when she says she lost weight, but she still had a belly, was carrying fat in her midsection, that can happen at any age. That just depends on where you store and or lose body fat the easiest. And so whether you're 20, 50, or even 100 years of age, if you have stubborn belly fat you're not losing, that's just due to your genetics. All you need to do is to continue to diet, and eventually that stubborn belly fat will in fact dissipate.
So what mistakes did I make? Well, firstly, I did a ton of running, and I wasn't losing body fat doing a ton of running.
That is not a reason you're not losing too much weight. The more cardio you do, you will literally lose more body fat and more weight. Not saying you need to go out and do 5 hours of cardio a day, but if you did, you're clearly going to get leaner than if you didn't do any.
At the time, I thought it was really important and more important to get in cardio than it was strength training.
You are going to burn off more calories, become a better burner, and it will be easier to sustain weight loss if you're someone who enjoys and does a lot of cardio. In comparison, lifting weights does in fact burn calories, yes, not as much as cardio, and for every 10 pounds of muscle you add, it's going to increase your BMR by 80 calories. And on top of that, you're going to burn additional calories throughout the day because you're stronger, you can move your body around quicker, lift heavier weights in the gym, and so on. And so ultimately, you might burn off an additional 200 calories if you in fact add 10 pounds of muscle. But that's 200 calories in a day through adding 10 pounds of muscle, which is in fact quite a bit for a woman in her 50s. And does that mean you shouldn't lift weights? Of course not. You should lift weights and do cardio. But if you're only doing cardio and not lifting weight, it's not going to prevent you from burning fat.
I actually didn't eat prior to strength training or 5 hours afterwards because I was intermittent fasting.
Great point she makes here. She says when she was doing her weightlifting, she wouldn't eat before lifting weights and she would fast for 5 hours after. She was practicing intermittent fasting. And so she now knows that not eating more frequently is preventing her from building muscle. Every time you eat protein, up to 5 times in a day, that can cause muscle protein synthesis to occur. And so by eating more protein more often, you're enabling your body to build more muscle.
I was actually doing high repetitions, and what you actually need to do is go as heavy as you possibly can.
All right, so to break this down, she's saying she had no gains in the gym because her trainer sucked and told her to do high reps. And I was thinking high reps, and she said 60. She said 16 to 20. So she had no muscle because she was training with too high of a rep range, 16 to 20. Guess how many reps I do in a ton of the sets I'm doing? 15 to 20. And so she started training like Coach Greg and couldn't build any muscle because apparently that's all wrong. You can't build muscle training at 16 to 20 reps. Listen, it's not about how many reps you're doing, it's about the intensity of the reps you're performing. How hard are you pushing yourself in the gym? Are you training close to failure? Or are you leaving 10 reps in the tank like Jeff Nippard? And so regardless if you did 5, 10, 15, 20 reps, heavy weights, lighter weights, if you push yourself to failure, you train harder than last time, you are going to experience hypertrophy. Hypertrophy of the muscle means the muscle gets bigger. But she states progressive overload. Progressive overload is when you literally train harder than last time. From one session to the next, or 1 week to the next, 1 month to the next, year by year by year, and so on, you go harder than before. You either add more weight or do more reps, or you slow the weight down, you use better mind-muscle connection, better control, you simply push yourself harder. What you did today, you do harder later on at some other point in the near future. But she says it 100% wrong. Listen to how she states this.
What you actually need to do is go as heavy as you possibly can, normally between the 8 to 12 rep range. That's going to give you what's called progressive overload and therefore hypertrophy.
Okay, this video is not about trying to put this woman down. It's about taking the experiences, what she learned, and how to improve it. It has over 1.5 million views, but I did not expect to see this kind of misinformation. She's saying you need to go in the gym and put on the heaviest weight possible and do 8 to 12 reps because that's hypertrophy. That's called training to failure or training hard. That's not called hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is when the muscle gets bigger as a result of training hard. And so she's flip-flopping, saying it all backwards, but it's not about tearing the woman down. I'm just trying to correct the information that she's giving. And so please don't write in the comments saying I'm a jerk and a mean person. I'm just trying to correct the information being presented. 1.5 million people watch this video.
Building muscle when you're over 40, it's not going to make you bulky.
Okay, and so hypertrophy or getting bigger muscles isn't just going to correct people over 40 and not make them bulky over 40. At any age, building muscle doesn't make you bulky. What makes you bulky is gaining too much weight, muscle and or fat in unison, in combination. If people lift weights and they have a lot of muscle and a lot of fat, that of course is going to make you look bulky.
You're just putting back on the muscle that you've lost through the aging process.
Listen, you haven't lost a ton of muscle throughout the aging process because you're now at the age of 40. In fact, a lot of Mr. Olympia competitors are champions at the age of 40 or more. You don't suddenly start losing a lot of muscle when you're 30. At 40 or so, perhaps 1% a year, and that's mostly because people are lazy and not working out. And so rather than thinking you're going to lose a lot of muscle by the age of 40, think, I'm going to build a lot of muscle and keep it because I'm not going to be a slacker and not go and train and make excuses and have a dad bod.
I was improving my nutrition, so I was getting more protein in, but the problem is my calories were too low.
Okay, and so the next mistake she says is she was only eating 1,300 calories a day, and that was too low to have the energy to train hard. This is actually good information. If you diet too strictly, you're in too great of a calorie deficit, you're not going to have the energy to put forth while you're lifting weights. Think of it, you're on a very low calorie diet. You're in a severe calorie deficit. You go to the gym, you don't have the energy to train hard. You go and do your cardio, and your cardio, it's lackluster. You were supposed to go for a 10K jog, and you end up walking 3 kilometers and going home because you just have no energy. And so what she did is she ate more.
Because I was on those really low calories, what I used to do is whole day cheat days. And of course, that's undone everything that you've done during the week.
And so what happened as a result of this low calorie diet is she ended up on binges. She'd go on the weekend, eat full day cheats. And so she ended up not losing any weight because that severe calorie deficit she had wasn't sustainable. And so she binge ate way too many calories and undid all the weight loss that she did during the week on the weekend when she overindulged, overate in calories. And so rather than eating 1,300 calories a day and eating 5,000 calories on the weekend, you spread it out and have a more even diet. For example, eat 1,700 calories a day, but do so 7 days a week. So many people undereat calories and then they overindulge, splurge on the weekend and wonder why they're not losing weight. They'll make statements like, yeah, I didn't lose any weight because I was only eating 1,000 calories a day. And I'm like, anyone that's eating 1,000 calories a day, you're losing weight. And if you don't, it's because you're lying about how many calories you ate. They're not telling you about that Saturday and Sunday when they ate 5,000 calories each day. And so what is the result? Well, they're actually eating more like 2,000 calories a day, but they're saying, hey, I only ate 1,000 calories a day. And so did she really eat 1,300 calories a day? No, she ate 1,300 calories a day for some days and then ate a ton more calories than others. And so when you report how many calories you're eating a day, what I prefer is to give the average. It's not because your metabolism has shut off and it's stopping to burn calories, and if you just ate more, that you'd suddenly burn more calories, that your body be like a furnace burning everything. The truth is, when people are not losing weight because they're not eating enough, it's because they're overeating on other days. That is the truth. The truth hurts. That is what happened in this situation.
So I've talked about what I did wrong, let's get into what I did right.
And so finally, after 2.5 years of experimenting, finally things kicked in. She finally figured out what she needed to do to make her diet and training work.
Eating carbohydrate before you strength train and eating some protein and carbohydrate within an hour after strength training.
Okay, and so I'm watching what she's saying that she did, and the first thing she did is she stopped with the intermittent fasting. She spread out more of her meals. She ate before and after training, and she had protein, carbs, all the macronutrients she eats. But she does get the information a little bit wrong, and I'm just going to correct her quickly. She eats before the gym to give her the energy, the protein, amino acids, the carbohydrates, the energy she needs to fuel that workout. And then she says, and I had to eat within an hour after. Didn't have to. There's no anabolic window. There's no such thing. 20, 30 years ago, people used to believe this. It's actually a myth. And so you don't need to come home, rush back from the gym, have a protein shake and or eat a meal. If you're eating every 4 or 5 hours, that is more than often enough. And so if you're having a pre-workout meal, going to the gym, training for an hour or two, you don't have to rush back and suddenly eat to refuel the calories that you burn off during that gym session.
When I started getting that right, I started actually seeing an improvement quite quickly within weeks of incorporating that strategy.
So within weeks of incorporating that strategy of eating before and after the gym, she suddenly grew tons of muscle within weeks. She trained for 2.5 years, doing weird kind of diets, starving herself here, intermittent fasting, binging on the weekend, and never put on any muscle for 2.5 years. I frankly don't believe a word of it. I don't. I don't care if you do every freaking thing wrong. If you are training, doing cardio, lifting weights, even if you're not doing it right, you're doing mistakes, you're still going to get gains. 2.5 years? Imagine you join the gym, start training, start running, and eating the wrong kinds of foods at the wrong time. You really think in 2.5 years you're going to make zero progress? Then suddenly you start eating before and after the gym, and bam-o, you're putting on a ton of muscle. That does not make sense to me. I just don't believe it.
I started putting in more protein, so around 160 grams of protein, which is actually quite high for me.
Next up, her weight, 55 kilos, which she says is about 125 pounds, is closer to 122. And so at most, how much protein you need? 1 gram protein per pound of body weight. That's 122 grams at the most. Anything more than that, it's just extra. It's not going to build you any extra muscle. And so what does she have? 160. And that helped her? Of course not. It doesn't help you to go to 160 grams from 122. And in fact, 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight, that is shown to be enough. And so 100 grams of protein for her would have been plenty more than enough to build muscle. And so do you really think that she had to up her protein that dramatically, that substantially to 160 grams in order to build muscle? Do you really think that was the case? I mean, how do we know she's natural? Perhaps she threw in some SARMs. Maybe she's on HRT. We don't know any of that. That 100% could account for all this. Maybe she just went on HRT. I don't know if she did. I don't think she did. Perhaps she did. She looks like she could be. You don't think women go on HRT? You don't think women can use supplements? All she'd have to use is one performance-enhancing drug, and she could have made all these changes and kept her diet the same. Do you really think after 2.5 years you're not going to gain any muscle? You're not going to lose any fat? You can't lose your stomach? Suddenly you make a change before and after, more protein, and bam, you turn into a bikini competitor in the age of 50. Believe what you want, just telling you what I think.
And I also started tracking my calories and macros, 35% protein, 35% carbohydrate, and 30% fats.
I don't believe that you need to worry about the macros. It has to be 35 or 40% this and that. It doesn't really matter. The Rock friggin' knows it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
Calories in, calories out. Get enough protein, 1 gram protein per pound of body weight. You don't have to eat way more. You don't have to eat a post-workout meal. If you eat 3 to 5 meals a day with protein, trust me, you can develop an amazing physique.
And took out the cheat days as I was more consistent over that 7 days, was up at around 1,700 calories.
Okay, finally some good information again. She said rather than being on that low-calorie diet, the 1,300 a day, and then binging on the weekend, she literally said I then ate 1,700 calories consistently. It's even the number I freaking picked out, 1,700 calories. And so rather than saying, oh, I didn't lose weight because I didn't eat enough, that's not the truth. The truth is you never ate enough because you binged on the weekend. Not because you only ate 1,300 calories, but because you ate 5,000 plus on the weekend. You're saying, no, it's my hormones out of whack. Cortisol, stress, blah, blah, blah. No, you ate too much. I don't care how screwed up your hormones are. If you eat less and you burn off more calories and you're in a deficit, you will lose weight. Not saying it's not smart to go to a doctor, check it out, and improve it. But I am saying that even if it's because of your hormones, you can solve that problem by burning more calories off or eating less. Sorry, truth hurts. Telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
I cut back on all that cardio, and what I did with strength training was heavy lifting.
Nope, that is not true. You don't need to lift heavy. I do not lift heavy anymore. Used to, was training for world championships, powerlifting and so on. Lifted really heavy weights, 1 rep max on the bench. Now I lift moderate weights. Moderate for high reps, and I train hard. I oftentimes train to failure and beyond. It's not how heavy it is, it's how hard are you training.
That's really important. And if you're wondering how heavy you should go, I can't tell you that.
Well, Coach Greg can, so I'll tell you how. If you're training for muscle hypertrophy, you should be lifting at a rep range probably somewhere between 8 and 20 reps to failure. Unless you're a beginner, train easy. And so how heavy is it? It's heavy enough so that you fail in a rep range somewhere between 8 and 20. If you're not caring about strength so much and you're older and you don't want to get injured, let's raise that to 12 to 15. And so if you want the best possible rep range for the least chance of injury with the most chance for muscle growth, train in a rep range of close to 15 and train to failure. That means if you can get 16, then increase the weight. And if you stopped at 10, 11, 12 reps, well, why not go a little bit lighter and get more reps in? That way your sets will last longer, you'll optimize your time under tension, you'll get more out of your training, not get injured, and experience more hypertrophy.
Also including an hour per week of high intensity interval training.
Okay, also bad advice. Do not think that you need to go out and do 60 minutes a week of HIIT cardio. That is a lot. That is a lot for a high performance athlete. HIIT cardio, high intensity training, that is intense training where you really push yourself. It's like you're running with a bear chasing you. You're trying not to die. It is hard. My advice, don't do the HIIT cardio, especially 40s and 50s getting older, trying not to get injured. Do moderately intense, steady state cardio. Safer, gonna burn a lot of calories, and it will in fact boost your metabolism even more so than HIIT. You're thinking HIIT burns the most calories, boosts your metabolism the most? It doesn't. If you do 15, 20 minutes of HIIT versus 60 minutes of steady state gonna burn more calories and burn more in the afterburn. And so you're thinking this is great information, wonderful, but really is it? And I know it's confusing, but I have a master's degree in kinesiology. I studied this my entire life, coached thousands of people, done 59 bodybuilding shows, 70 powerlifting competitions, did 13 years of triathlons, and I'm a competitive cyclist right now, and I'm 46. And so what do you think? Would you expect me not to know this? To me, this is so basic. But I know for the most part, people, they just don't get this. It takes a lot to understand this information, but I try to dumb it down, make it super simple, easy, and entertaining. And so hopefully you enjoyed the video, ending it here. GregDoucette.com for coaching, Greg Doucette, IPU Pro. Training books, the freaking cookbook, the Circle Diet book, the supplements, all kinds. Click the flippin' link in the description. Watch the video again and learn what I'm talking about. Watch the bloops, subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm. Give me a call if you want consults, coaching plans by me and my team. And until next time, I am out.